Sure. So before we proceed, I would like to give some idea behind some background about IDC and about Windmill microlending and about today's webinar, and then we can start with our presentation as well. So I welcome all of you here on behalf of IDC and Windmill microlending today for our webinar, which is financial benefit for newcomer and credit building for newcomer dentist in Canada. IDC is International Dentist Canada, and I'm Dr. Abhijit Patil, a prosthodontist myself and founder and CEO of International Dentist Canada and IDC Consultancy and Services. IDC is one of its kind organization in the world which provides one-stop support to all the international dentists who wants to immigrate and practice dentistry in Canada. So you can find all the support right from the consultation till the professional help, how to build your career as a dentist in Canada and how to get integrated into Canadian dental industry. Also the education support, if you are interested in getting admission into dentistry program at master's level or graduate level, and employment opportunities as well. So today here with us is Apik Tezol. She is partnership specialist for Eastern Canada with Windmill Microlending. Windmill Microlending is Canada's national registered charity, and it is one of the largest organization which provide microloans up to 15,000 Canadian dollars to newcomer professionals and refugees who are coming to Canada as a permanent residents. And it has been there since 2005. So it is one of the largest and best known microlending organization in Canada. So I'm very much thankful here for Windmill Microlending and APEC to be here with us on this platform to share the insight and whatever the secrets you have there. So with us and with our dentists and from all over the world who are joining us today from all over the world. So Apik, shall we start with our presentation? So before we start, I want to conduct one poll here so that we'll just get some insight. That is really interesting. Okay, so here we go. So how beneficial is financial help for you? I want every one of you to answer this question. So if you can, so we'll get some insight what exactly people are thinking. Yeah, that's nice. So as I expected, it is people are really responding with the answer that I have expected. Okay. So here are the results. 90% of people, they are saying it is extremely beneficial, and 10% of them, they are saying beneficial till some extent. That's great. What do you think, Apik?
This sets the stage really well for our discussion today. I think it's really important to understand how the process works for the licensing for dental professionals in Canada. It's great that International Dentist Canada and organizations alike exist to make this possible. The extent of your coverage from education to, the loan portion, with the financing of the education, the tools, which we'll go into, and setting up a real practice and relaunching your career in Canada is certainly important. And to get to that place, there's a lot of investment that needs to happen. So Windmill is there to kind of offer that support. So yeah, I think this is the perfect segue for me to maybe start sharing my screen and without further ado, start my presentation. If you can confirm that you can see my screen.
Yeah, I can see the presentation. So I'll request all of you to please mute yourself and switch off your video so we can have smooth transition of our presentation. So that's the request. So we'll start. Yeah, please go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so thank you for the warm introduction. As said, I represent Windmill Microlending, which is a micro-lending agency different from traditional banking institutions and other traditional methods of borrowing. I just want to give a brief introduction about our symbol, because our organization was actually known as Immigrant Access Fund many years ago, and then our board of directors and our leadership team decided to change the name and the logo of the organization, and Windmill was chosen. And the symbolism behind that is the idea of converting potential into prosperity. Now, I don't want to make it seem like there's potential only in Canada. As internationally trained professionals, you already have valuable experience and knowledge in that field, and Windmill is there to make sure that you receive the supports that you need in whatever form they can, to the extent of our mandate, I should say, and make sure that you're comfortable with the relaunch of your career here in Canada. So that's the symbolism behind our logo, and I think that really sets the stage for our conversation as well. At the highest level, what Windmill does is we provide up to $15,000 to skilled immigrants and refugees to pay for Canadian licensing and training needed to, like I said, restart or relaunch your career here in Canada. Now, this is the generic tagline of our organization, but actually for dental professionals, the limit is $25,000, and I'll go into specifically how we work with internationally trained dentists later on in the conversation. So it says 15, but specifically for dentists, it's 25, which I'll go into next. A bit about what Windmill is. We are a grassroots organization. It all started with Dr. Maria Erickson, who was a clinical psychologist, and she had noticed that many of the janitorial staff and volunteers in the hospital that she was employed in were actually internationally trained healthcare professionals, and they didn't have equivalency or licensing in place to practice their profession. And this was concerning to her, and it all started, at her dining table, and they gave out 6 loans to start the program. And now we're a registered charity operating across Canada, and we have given out 5,000 loans since the start of the organization in 2004. So really high growth here, and I think it really speaks to the value of having a mission and having the right team in place to kind of facilitate that support. Like I said, where we are now is that we're a national charity. We have offices across Canada, and I'm just going to go ahead and request that folks, okay, perfect. And our services are accessible everywhere online. We are supported by governments. So we are funded by the province of Alberta and Ontario, which is the majority of where our loans lie. But like I said, it is a national charity. So at this point in the presentation, you might be wondering what makes Windmill unique. I did refer to Windmill as different than traditional financial institutions, but how so? So if you go through your immigration process and start your life here in Canada, and you are looking to take out loans from banks, you are required to have Canadian credit history or score. There are requirements for you to show a stable income and stable employment, and you're typically requested to show assets to secure loans and have a co-signer. So these are all of the checklists that the bankings have. If you are able to provide these, it's also sometimes that because newcomers are deemed high-risk clients, the interest rates on the loans are typically higher, which is not the case with Windmill. So Windmill, we recognize that some folks might not have credit history in Canada. the Windmill loan is actually a way for you to build your credit history in Canada. That's not to say that that's the only way. You can get a credit card and start building your credit history that way. But the Windmill loan is an opportunity for you to start building your credit history, starting at a lower amount. We recognize that you may be in a living situation where you're currently unemployed or underemployed, meaning you're practicing other professions than the one that you were trained in. You might be in a situation where you're dipping into savings, living off of savings, employment insurance, credit, which is not ideal for long times of periods. So we recognize that that might be the case. You might not have assets yet in Canada to secure a loan, and you might not have the social networks available to you. So in those cases, Windmill is able to work with those clients. And that's really what makes us unique. So the eligibility criteria for a Windmill loan, I do recognize that some of you, due to COVID, you might not be residing in Canada, but to actually qualify for a Windmill loan, you must reside in Canada. That's not to say that if right now you don't reside in Canada, you know, you can come back to us in 6 months or whatever your timeline is, and we'll be happy to review your application. So don't take this as a discouragement. We have a lot of clients who go through the presentation, and right now is not the time for them to proceed, and that's totally okay. You know, we start the process when you're ready. So like I said, please do not take this as any discouragement. And informative, and leave it at that. I'm assuming that many of you are internationally trained and have the skills and experience related to your career goals to restart your career here in Canada. And legally, and I highlight this because these are strict guidelines in terms of the eligibility, is we do look for either a permanent residency status, a Canadian citizenship, provincial nominee, protected persons, or convention refugee status from our applicants. Now, I don't expect you to, you know, take notes and memorize all of these criteria. Our team made it really easy for you to take the quiz, which is only 4 questions, and it takes less than a minute. And I'll put the hyperlink in the chat once I'm done with my presentation, just so you have easy access to it. But essentially, it gives you all of the eligibility criteria, and it's the first checkpoint for you to hopefully start an application with Windmill. How can the micro loans be used? So we are able to cover up to 2 years of training and education on the Windmill side. Currently, we are building a partnership with CIBC, which is a big bank here in Canada, to make sure that we are being accommodating to the needs of dental professionals in Canada, meaning there is exemptions, and we recognize that it might take, and it could take, it's likely to take longer than 2 years. So in those cases with dentists, we're able to revise that timeline. Fees for licensing and qualifications, qualifying exams, language courses. You might be in a place where your technical skills are there, but you know, language might be a challenge. So it could be used for tutoring lessons in either English or French, depending on where you choose to live in Canada. Qualifications assessments, if in any way, and I guess an asterisk there is that there's no COVID and the examinations are held in person. If it were the case that you need to travel to take examination and maybe stay overnight, those expenses could be covered as well. Books, course materials, and work equipment, and relocation costs. So if ever you go through the education, the training in one province, let's say, and then you choose to relocate to Saskatchewan, that's that's a professional development and a career change. So that would qualify as well. Living allowance within the context of professional development. So say for you to be available to take the education or the training portion of your career success plan, then and for you, so say you're taking care of children or the elderly, and for you to be able to be available for the training, you would need to hire care staff. So that's the type of living allowance that we're able to expense. So please don't take that as, you know, rent that might not be available through us. I'm going to get a bit technical here. So the terms and conditions on our loans are different. So depending on the amount that you borrow, the repayment term is between 4 to 5 years. And the cutoff for that is if it's below 7,500, it's 4 terms. If it's higher than 7,500, then it's 5 years. It's really important to highlight that it's an open loan, so you can pay off at any time with no penalty, meaning, you know, you go through your education and you are employed and you have savings in place and you feel comfortable paying off the loan. You could do so with no additional charges. Our variable interest rate is set at 1.5 plus the RBC prime business rate. So our current annual rate is set at 3.95%. It's also really important for me to highlight that there's no hidden costs. So if you do choose to go ahead with an application at Windmill, there's no administrative fees for you to proceed. There's no charges for any of the support that you might need throughout. So once you apply for a Windmill loan, you get linked to a career coach who works with you to establish budgeting, and there's no administrative fees or charges associated to those as well. Specifically, I want to really highlight our partnership with CIBC. So like I said, we do recognize that the National Dentistry Examination Board of Canada has a lot of procedures in place for you to get your equivalency in Canada, which takes a lot of finances. So how do you proceed? We're with the financial portion of this challenge, let's not call it a challenge, let's call it the route of relaunching your career. So step one, as Windmill, like I said, you can receive up to 25,000. So like I said, the maximum of 15,000 is higher for dentists. So you can receive up to $25,000 to register and pass the assessment of fundamental knowledge. So then you would proceed to step two. The loans highlighted in red are facilitated by CIBC, and the green one, which is step one, is facilitated by Windmill. So this is exactly what I meant when I said this is an opportunity to build credit history in Canada. So Windmill is there to offer you the first financial support. And then through our partnership with CIBC, you're able to unlock higher value loans through traditional financial institutions. So we're really there to relaunch your career here. And then proceed to step three and step four, and hopefully you are in a position where you provide proof of completion of the objective structured clinical examination, and you are employed. So this is the client journey, looking at it from Windmill microlending and how CIBC fits into the picture. And I can take additional questions at the end. So what does the application process look like? I know I refer to the eligibility quiz as step one. So what happens when you take the eligibility quiz? Hopefully you're eligible to proceed with an application. For that to happen, our team asks documentation of you to proceed. Documentation is, proof of legal status, so either citizenship, PR status, refugee, convention refugee status, or protected person status. So those are the types of documentations that our team would need. If the application goes through, like I said, you're linked to a Windmill coach, and together with the coach, you establish a learning plan and a budget, and then you officially apply for your loan. That's up to $25,000, and then your application is reviewed by a committee, and there is approval. From start to finish, this process usually takes 15 business days for you to receive the money in the bank. So for the funds to be dispersed, it usually can take about 15 days. So if ever you're in a position where the timeline is tight, I would just encourage you to apply as soon as you can, just to get the process going. We say 15 business days. It usually takes shorter, but there are things that could go wrong. So just making sure that you get the funds that you need in the time that you need them. So I always encourage applicants to at least get in touch as soon as they can. And then you are linked to our intake team and then our coach, and then hopefully you're approved for a loan. This is my favorite slide of the entire presentation, because it really talks about our clients and the success of our clients. So like I said, since our inception of 2005, we've approved close to 2,600 loans, which comes to a total of 45 billion in loans, which is huge. But I think the bigger picture here is the average income increase of 3.3x, which speaks to two things. One is, unfortunately, the unemployed or underemployment of newcomers in Canada before they're able to practice the profession that they were studying for in their country of origin. So, and then when you do have the licensing in place, it really helps out with your living standards and your average income. So that really is a testament to the success of our clients. And I do want to address one thing, which is when we say we work with clients who have no credit history in Canada, there's usually hesitation of saying, well, what happens if things go wrong? What's the repayment rate looking like? Really proud to say that our repayment rate is at 98%, even through COVID. So these are stats as of March 2021. So even through COVID, we met the 98% repayment rate, which really speaks to the support of our financial coaches, I believe. So it's different than a traditional bank in the sense of there's relationships that are built between the coaches and the clients. And if there's ever a position where we need to rejig your repayment plan, for example, if the tests were canceled and you need 6 more months for you to take the next exam. Those are the types of conversations that our coaches are able to have and make sure that the repayment rate is staying intact and the loan doesn't default. So once again, this is the link to the Apply Now page. This image right here. Sorry, I'm just going to go back. Here, when I say documentation, so once you take the eligibility quiz and then you're asked for documentation, these lists of documents are the documentations that we would need. So stuff like an up-to-date resume, a proof of your financial situation, a learning plan template, and a void check. So stuff like this are things that we would need for you to proceed with an application. And yeah, I think I'm just at 20 minutes. So this is my email, and this is the email of our intake team who deals with the applications coming in. So now I will stop sharing my screen, and then I can hopefully answer the many questions that you have. I hope
Thank you so much, Epic. That was indeed a very impressive presentation, and I hope many candidates, they are motivated with this. And I really have one interesting poll question, which really goes after this. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So. I cannot launch the poll. By the meantime, I launch the poll. I would like all of you to post your questions. If you have any questions, now is the time to post in the chat box, and we'll try to answer it best way we can. So here's the first question. When one can interest rate starts calculated?
Okay. So how our loans work is you only pay the interest when you're going through your training. So it's an interest only payment as you're going through your education plan and your certification plan. And then there's a 90-day period between the completion of the examination and then when your principal, and then you start paying the principal. So it's however long it takes for you to complete your education and qualification examination. That is the interest only payment. And then the 90-day grace period, and then you start paying off the principal. And then that takes usually 5 years.
Okay, that's great. So before we go on to our next question, here is our next poll question. So after hearing this presentation, how many of you would choose to offer financial loans or these kind of microloans provided by Windmill Microlending to support once you immigrate to Canada? So I would like all of you to answer this question. It will be very helpful. Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. Again, people are voting, but I can see little bit different result here than I have anticipated. Okay, I'll just post the result. Just give me a second. Okay, so 73% of them, they are saying that yes, they would definitely opt for financial loans and when they'll immigrate to Canada, but 27% of them, they are saying not decided yet. So I would like to know more about that why they haven't decided, or maybe there's something that holding them back to decide about these, because I think when you immigrate to Canada as a dentist and when you are new there, it is really helpful for you to get these microloans, and these microloans are offered by Windmill Microlending without having any credit history or credit score in Canada. So I think you should be really thinking about that again. And I'm hopeful this presentation will shed more light on that and to make your mind clear. Okay, so we'll just move on to the next question.
If I may, I just want to close the loop on the grace period. I see that Angel asked if it's 90 days after the AFK completion, and that's correct. So with Windmill, you receive up to 25,000. You go through the AFK process, there's a 90-day period, grace period, and then you start paying the principal. And then if you need additional financial support, that's when we would refer you to CIBC for the second step of your equivalency.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So here's the next question. He had joined a little bit late and he's saying, do we need any collateral as well for the loan? So no, the answer to your question is no. So the next question is by Dr. Angel. What is the percentage of chances of getting CIBC after completion of AFK for equivalency process? So you're already, Apek, you want to go ahead with this question?
I don't have a specific data set on the percentage, but I will say I personally haven't heard of any declines until now. The partnership launched earlier on in the year, so it's still a pilot in that sense. So I don't think we have data points in terms of the percentage, but since the program launched, we haven't had any declines from CIBC.
That's fantastic. That's great. So the next question is from Aisha. She's asking, how does the steps to obtain a loan differ if one is to go through the degree completion program? Please elaborate on this matter. So I think this is degree completion program she's talking about after finishing first examination, AFK, that is AFK. There are two ways. If you're a permanent resident, either you can go through in-depth equivalency process, you can go through assessment of clinical judgment and assessment of clinical skills, or if you choose to apply for a degree completion program or to get admission into a faculty of dentistry, any of the colleges for the DDS or the DMD program. So what kind of loan or what kind of support is offered by Windmill Microlending in that case, if they want to pursue a study related to dentistry?
Okay, so twofold answer for that. So if you are choosing to go through the assessment of clinical judgment or assessment of clinical skills, that would go through the CIBC program. So that's the route that you would take. But if you do decide to go the degree completion program, then once that the first loan is paid, you can still work with Windmill directly. So that's the time when you wouldn't go to CIBC and you would work internally with us. And that's the main difference. So two routes. If you take the ACJ or ACS, then it would be the CIBC program. But if you do go the degree route, you would stay within Windmill, and that would be a secondary loan. So first you would need to pay off the first loan for you to apply for additional funds.
That's right. That's right. That's correct. I think someone's mic is on. Noseba, can you please mute yourself? Yeah. So the next question is from Dr. Naga. If I already have a student loan with OSAP, which is Ontario Student Assistance Program, does it impact in getting the loan from Windmill or CIBC?
Again, twofold question, twofold answer, I should say. So we don't have exclusivity on our loans. So if you do have other financial supports in place, that shouldn't discourage you from applying with Windmill. But if you go ahead with an application and you're matched with a coach and they, in chatting with you, they feel and they hear that you're already in a financial burden, we wouldn't be able to proceed with the loan. So it really depends on the case-by-case, on a case-by-case basis. So there's no exclusivity on the loans. You're more than welcome to apply, but there is a chance that the loan doesn't go through if you're already under financial burden. We're not there to make it more burdensome for you, especially at the start of your relaunch of your career. So it really depends on the case, I would say.
Yeah, situation means how much loan they have taken from OSAP, if it is for education program, and what was the fees, what was the duration, looking at these factors, and what was the repayment method and how much loan has been repaid for that OSAP. So depending upon all those calculations, I hope your team would come up with some solution and they can help better, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So moving on to next question from Akshay. How much time we are given to repay the loan? We have already given the answer in the presentation, right? So it is, please go ahead, Epic.
It's between 4 to 5 years, depending on the amount that you take out. But yeah, the maximum is usually 5 years of a repayment plan.
Okay. So again, question from Dr. Angel, equivalency process. After AFK completion, after 90 days, I won't be having a job. And how will I be able to, just a second. How will I be able to pay principal? Please advise.
So that's typically the route that we say, but recognizing that employment might not be an opportunity for dentists at that point. Like I said, the CIBC loan is there to offer additional support. So if you're not able to repay the principal, then that would be a conversation with our coaches, and then the repayment plan changes. So when I give information, that's typically the general, the template of what we do. But like I said, on a case by cases, we're able to rejig. So it really depends on your situation.
Okay, that's great. Dr. Arnab, he's asking how much would be the interest payment look like and also the principal payments approximately?
Depends on the amount that you take out. But like I said, our interest rate is set at 3.95 for the Windmill portion of the loan. So depending on the amount that you borrow, your payments would be either the 3.95, which is the interest only, or once you start paying the principal, it depends on the capital that you borrowed. So depends on the amount.
Okay, that's great. So yes, student candidates, they might be having a lot of questions, so they can definitely get back to me, Dr. Abhijit Patil at IDC. You can mail me anytime on my email address, and if the question is if I can answer, I'll answer it, or I'll forward it to IPEC for the further clarification on those questions, right? So again, thank you so much, all of you. And I would like to thank Windmill Microlending and APEC here for giving us your valuable time and be here on Sunday morning. And it's really helpful for all the candidates. They can decide about their future and it will definitely help them in long run. I again, thank you so much for being here. I hope this was very helpful for all of you guys. And this will help you in the future to build up your career and get integrated into candy and dental industry successfully. And that is very good initiative by Windmill Microlending to collaborate with CIBC and to offer a collaborative loans to the dentists to go through this process. I know this process, the end-of equivalency process, is going through some changes, and they have announced series of changes that will take place from 2022. And looking at those situations, I think, and looking at the backlog right now, you know, because of the COVID situation, there is too much of backlog for the students who are yet to appear for end-of equivalency process. So you dentists who are coming new in 2021 or 22, they might have to wait a little bit longer to appear for these examinations. So I hope there will be some kind of solution for those as well, and you can plan those things accordingly. Okay, so thank you so much again, and I really appreciate your effort, IPEC, here, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining me today at
no
IDC.
Problem. Just a few conclusionary remarks. I did put in the link for the Windmill and CIBC partnership.
Yes,
so
sure.
It's windmillmicrolending.org/CIBC, which highlights all of the steps. And then if you are going to decide to proceed with an application and you have application-specific questions, you can email info@teamwindmill.org. Which is a resource for you. So
I'll definitely put that information. I'll definitely put that information below the video on IDC's website so that students and candidates, they can redirect themselves. All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. So that's it for today, all of you. I hope this presentation was helpful for all of you guys. And if you have any other questions, you can definitely get in touch with me. You can book my consultation through IDC's website. There is a tab on homepage where you can book my consultation, and I'll be very happy to answer all your questions and all your doubts. Okay, so I hope this session was helpful for you, and do get in touch if you want to get enrolled with the services provided by IDC. Thank you so much again. Hopefully I'll see you very soon, and take care. Bye-bye.